Hello everybody, MrCamoGaming here, bringing you guys another No Man's Sky video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how the planets work in No Man's Sky. This is a question that's been going around by a lot of new people to the game because they can't quite understand how all of the planets are going to be different and unique. Even when there's like 18 quintillion of them, they're confused about how all of this works. And so today, I'm going to clear up how planets work in No Man's Sky. So, as I mentioned, there is 2 to the power of 64 planets in No Man's Sky, which is a lot of planets, and all of these are going to be planet-sized, quote-unquote. So this means that they are going to be very big, they're going to have enough stuff on them, so where you could explore them for weeks and weeks, months and months, however long you want to stay on them, you can explore them and find out all of the secrets on a planet. And the developers also claim that all of the planets will be unique and special, and you won't run into a planet that is the exact same twice. So a lot of people are asking, how exactly do they achieve this? Well, the way that they achieve this is through procedural generation, and this is a word that goes around a lot in the community, and essentially the way it works is that a seed is used, a bit like in Minecraft when you generate a world, and it's used to just generate the entire universe. You use a seed to generate one universe, and this assigns coordinates to every single spot in the universe, and this means that if you leave a place and then come back to it, it will be the exact same as it was when you left it, because all it has to do is generate what was around the coordinates in that area, and so you're generating the exact same environment, even though you may have left the area miles away and then come back again. It will be the exact same, even when other players come as well. It will be the exact same for them because it is just generating a coordinate, essentially a number. Now we're going to talk about actual planet features and stuff about the planets that you guys are going to need to know. So one thing that you might want to know is that the distance between planets in a star system, they'll be a lot closer than they are in real life. Because in real life it can take a very, very long time to go between a planet to another planet in one system. And so they want the game to feel like a game rather than a space simulator. So they're not going to make you take weeks and weeks just to get to another planet from the one you were on. Now, another thing is that planets may have Earth-like features on them, such as canyons, caves, mountain ranges, oceans, a lot of stuff like that. You can get things that you have in the real world on these planets. Another cool thing to notice is that whether a planet contains water on it or not will depend on how close the planet is to the sun. And so this means that, for example, if a planet is like literally right next to the sun, there won't be any water on it because the sun will have evaporated all of the water. Whereas in a cold planet, there will be a lot of water because the sun won't have dried it all up, and some of it may even be ice just because it's so far away from the sun, it's so cold that it will have all just frozen. Now, this is one of the rules that they've put in place in the universe, and they have put in place rules for their universe so that things like this can happen. So it's not going to be illogical. You're not going to go to like right next to the sun and there's going to be an icy cold planet, because that's not how it would happen in real life. So there are rules in place to make the game seem more realistic. This also applies for temperature, so the temperature on a planet will be affected by how close the planet is to the sun. So for example, planets that are really far away from the sun will have very low temperatures, and planets that are right next to the sun will have very high temperatures, and this leads me nicely onto extreme conditions. So some planets will have extreme conditions, and so far we've seen 3 of these conditions, which are extreme cold, extreme heat, and toxic rain, and I'll put screenshots on the screen so you guys can see these conditions. And basically, this means that you will have to upgrade your suit in order to survive in these extreme conditions. So you can upgrade your suit so that you have like cold protection, and so when you are in extreme cold, you'll have a little bit of protection, but once this protection runs out, you'll then start to die of hypothermia, essentially. Now, another thing that has been mentioned is a radioactive atmosphere. That's a 4th condition that they've mentioned, and there will be more in the final game, but these are the 3 that we've definitely confirmed, as well as the radioactive one. We kind of confirmed that they've mentioned it quite a lot. Now, just a final quick few things that we're going to mention is, first of all, there will be no gas giants in the game because the developers want all of the planets to be explorable on foot or in your ship, and of course gas giants would only be explorable in your ship. You wouldn't actually be able to land on them. Another thing to note is that some planets will have rings around them. That is a very quick one just there, is that some planets will have rings around them just like Saturn does in our solar system. Another thing to notice is that it is possible for planets to be entirely covered in just water, so a massive big ocean planet, or in just sand, so a massive desert planet. And it is likely that planets could be covered in other things as well, but we don't know all of the things where a planet could just be essentially just covered in one material. We don't know all of them, but we do know that a planet could be an entire ocean or an entire desert. So the final thing, just before we move on to some miscellaneous planet stuff, is quite important to know, and that is that planets will get weirder and more dangerous the closer you get to the centre of the galaxy. So this is going to slow down speedrunners a lot, because let's say, for example, that the speedrunners' plan is to upgrade their warp drive, which we'll talk about ships in a future video. We'll talk about all of your inventory, but basically the warp drive is the thing that allows you to go between star systems really quickly. So let's say that speedrunner wants to just upgrade their warp drive so they can just go straight to the center, basically. Just zoom past like 3 systems and then refuel, zoom past another 3 systems, and keep repeating that process until they get to the center. Now, the reason that's going to be a problem is because eventually they're going to get to a star system where everything's trying to kill them and everything's going to one-hit kill them, because they're not upgraded, they're in a very basic ship, they haven't got the weapons to fight back because they've only upgraded their warp drive, and they haven't got a suit to survive on any of the environments, kind of like toxicity or radioactivity or anything like that. So eventually they are going to have to move backwards through the universe in order to upgrade enough so that they can then survive in the planets that are closer to the center. A final thing to note just before we move on to the miscellaneous stuff is that there will be more strange wildlife and rarer resources on the planets that are closer to the center. So a lot of the wildlife will most likely be hostile as well, and so you are going to have to consider this, and you're going to have to upgrade your weapon, of course, to kill off the hostile wildlife. And if you got rarer resources, I've already talked about that in the previous video, how you could then sell that off for quite a lot of money. So now let's get on to the miscellaneous stuff. The first thing I wanted to mention is that there are structures you'll be able to encounter on planets. Some of these structures may be absolutely massive and could contain secrets about alien races, and some of them will actually just be groups of small buildings like a little village. And Sean Murray, who's the director of the game, has said that he kind of wanted to inspire these small villages, the small groups of buildings, from the first 3 Star Wars films, and that's episodes 4, 5, and 6. And I think that's a really good point of inspiration for those, but that's of course an opinionated thing. But basically, there are going to be structures you can encounter on planets. Now, in the game, you can dig into the ground of a planet. Of course, you're going to need to do this so that you can mine resources, so you can upgrade yourself, or so you can sell them off to traders. However, you cannot dig beyond 128 meters below the ground. This is fair enough, I think, because, well, they've already created a universe on a massive scale, and so it would get a bit hectic if you could dig just infinitely into the ground. However, if you dig a hole underneath an ocean, the water will fall into the hole you've made, so that's a physics thing right there, so you're not just going to have floating water patches if you dig underneath an ocean. However, it is currently unknown if this will cause the height of the ocean to shrink as well. So basically the question is, if you dug a hole underneath an ocean, and it was like a massive hole and it filled it, would the water also, would it like shrink from the surface, or would it kind of just glitch out and there'd be like an infinite water source, basically? We don't know about that yet, but there is like physics in the game, so the water will fall into holes you dig underneath water. So now we're on to the final few things about planets that I have to talk about. The first thing being is that if you dig from underneath something, any solid material above that thing will float in the air, just like it does in Minecraft. So like when you cut down a log from a tree, the rest of the tree will just kind of float in the air, it won't all fall down. Now, this is done because they can then create floating islands in the game. If they had a physics thing where all of land that was floating in the air would drop, then they wouldn't be able to create floating islands because, well, they just all fall down. But because of this, they can create floating islands, or they can put floating islands onto a planet of just themselves. So basically, a planet consisting of floating islands. Now, the final thing is that as far as stars go, there will be a variety of different stars, some of which do not exist in real life. So this is for the science nerds out there, the sci-fi nerds who are interested in stars and stuff like that. It has been noted that there will be binary star systems, and I kind of did a little bit of research on what these are, and if I'm correct, it's basically where there's like a star that revolves around that solar system star. I think that's what that is. I'm not exactly certain, and a lot of people are going to shout at me in the comments if I'm incorrect there. And the type of star in a system will affect the types of planets that are generated there. So I'm just giving an example. I don't really know about how it's actually going to work, but let's say that there's like a red star, like a really big red star. Maybe that would cause all of the planets to be hotter. That's an example. I'm not exactly certain, but basically the type of star in a star system will affect the types of planets that generate there. So guys, that just about covers everything that we currently know about planets and how planets work in No Man's Sky. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about the inventory and crafting systems in the game. This includes the items that you'll be upgrading, as well as how the actual crafting system itself works. So guys, if you have enjoyed this video, remember to smash the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more gaming content. Remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, links in the description below, and I'll see you guys in another video. So until then, ciao.